of all who listen. It is the story of a woman who died, and yet returned to tell us what Jesus himself showed her. This is not a tale of fear. It is not a tale to shake your faith. It is a reminder, a mirror for your heart, to see how precious this life truly is. She was an ordinary woman, much like you and me. She laughed, she worked, she worried about bills, and she planned for tomorrow without knowing that her final breath was nearer than she imagined. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, her heart gave way. In that still moment, she felt herself leaving her body. No pain, no panic, just a gentle release. And then, the light came. She told me it was not like the light of this world. It had warmth, but it did not burn. It had color, but no boundaries. And then, there he was. She saw Jesus, not in paintings, not in the way books describe him, but alive, radiant, and filled with a love that dissolved every ounce of fear she had ever carried. His eyes seemed to hold the entire ocean, yet looked upon her as if she were the only soul he had ever created. "Why are you afraid?" he asked her gently. She wanted to reply, but words could not form. Instead, he showed her scenes, moments from her life, not as she had seen them, but as they truly were. Times she spoke with anger, times she ignored someone in need, times she chose comfort over courage. But there was no condemnation in his voice, only a deep, compassionate sadness, like a parent longing for their child to choose better. And then, he showed her something that shook her soul more than anything. All the things she could have done, but didn't. Every kind word she never spoke. Every hand she never reached for. Every prayer she never whispered. In that place, she realized the greatest tragedy was not the mistakes she made. It was the love she withheld. My friend, when she told me this, I felt the weight of it in my own heart. How many of us live as if tomorrow is guaranteed? How many times have we silenced kindness because we were too busy, too distracted, too consumed by our own concerns? Jesus did not send her back to punish her, but to awaken her. He told her, "Go and tell them that life is not about what you earn, but about what you give. Tell them they are running out of time, though they do not see the clock. Tell them love is the only thing they will carry beyond the grave." When she returned to her body, she could not stop crying, not from fear, but from the overwhelming realization that she had been living half a life. From that day on, she began to speak softer, forgive faster, and give more freely. She told me, "I stopped waiting for perfect moments. I realized life is the perfect moment. I share this with you not to frighten you, but to free you. The truth is, you don't have to die to be reborn. You don't need an NDE to wake up. You can begin now, in this breath, to live as if every encounter matters, because it does. Ask yourself tonight, if my soul left my body this evening, what regrets would I carry? Who have I not forgiven? What words of love have I not yet spoken?" The woman told me something else before we parted that day. Heaven is not far away. It is as close as your next act of love. Let those words live in you. Let them stir you to reach out to the person you've been avoiding. Let them inspire you to treat your next conversation as if it could be your last, because one day it will be. We will continue this journey, my friend. In the next part, I will tell you what Jesus revealed to her about the unseen forces guiding our lives, forces we often mistake for coincidence. This will open your eyes to the subtle ways heaven whispers into your daily life. So, breathe deeply. Place your hand over your heart. Feel the pulse of this moment. This is your reminder. You are alive and you still have time to love. But do not wait. For in our last conversation, I told you of the woman who met Jesus in the light. You may remember his words, to love more, to forgive quickly, to give without delay. But there was something else, something she could not fully understand until he showed her. She said that after seeing her life review, Jesus turned his gaze slightly upward, as if listening to a sound she could not hear. Then he looked at her with a quiet smile and said, "You are never alone. not for a single breath. At that moment, she began to see them, not with human eyes, but with what she called the eyes of the soul. Angels. They stood like sentinels in the moments of her life, often unnoticed, yet always present. She saw them standing beside her in childhood when she was afraid of the dark. She saw them whispering courage into her mind when she faced heartbreak. She saw them catch her spirit in moments when despair nearly swallowed her. But here is what shook her most. She saw the moments she thought were coincidences. The times she met someone who spoke the exact words she needed. The sudden impulse to take a different road that saved her from an unseen accident. The job offer that came just when she was ready to give up. Jesus told her, "These are not accidents. These are my messengers, sent for you." My friend, we often imagine divine help as a dramatic miracle. Thunder from the sky, seas parting, mountains moving. But what if the greatest miracles are subtle, almost invisible? What if heaven's most powerful messages arrive quietly, in the voice of a stranger, in a small delay, in a dream you almost forgot? The woman told me something I have carried in my own heart ever since. If you are too busy, you will miss the whispers. She said we rush so quickly through life chasing things that do not follow us beyond the grave, that we miss the moments when heaven is leaning in to guide us. I remember a time when I was traveling through a small village in the mountains. It was winter, and snow had covered the path so deeply that I considered turning back. But something in me, a quiet nudge, urged me forward. Just beyond the bend, I met an old man whose cart had broken down. He was shivering, his hands blue from the cold. I helped him push his cart to safety, and as we shared tea in his small home, he told me of a decision he had been about to make, one that would have led him into great trouble. He said my arrival changed his mind, but what struck me most is this. I almost missed him. I almost turned back. How many times have we walked away from the very moments heaven prepared for us, simply because we mistook them for inconvenience? The woman's vision made one thing clear. Life is not a chain of random events. It is a tapestry, woven by a hand greater than ours, where each thread has meaning. Every delay, every meeting, every loss, every gain, they are all stitched together in a pattern we may not see until we step back into the light. And so she began to live differently. She listened more, not just with her ears, but with her spirit. She would pause before rushing through her day, asking silently, "What is heaven trying to show me right now?" And more often than not, the answer would come, not in thunder, but in stillness. My dear friend, you too can begin living this way. Start with something small. The next time you feel an unexplainable nudge, to call someone, to change your route, to speak a kind word, do not dismiss it. Test it. Follow it. See where it leads. For often, that is how the divine speaks. Perhaps right now, as you listen, something inside you stirs. Perhaps a face comes to mind, or a memory you have been avoiding. Pay attention. It may be that this is not just my voice you are hearing, but a whisper meant only for you. The woman told me that when Jesus showed her the angels, he leaned close and said, "You think you walk through life alone, but you walk through a chorus of love." She returned with the certainty that no matter how empty our days may feel, there is always more happening than we can see. In our next time together, I will share what he showed her about the weight of our words, how every sentence we speak, every thought we send into the world, carries more power than we imagine. And once you understand this, you will never speak carelessly again. So for now, take this with you. Listen for the whispers. Do not rush past them. They may be the answer you have been praying for. In our last conversation, we spoke of the whispers, of heaven, the subtle nudges, the angelic guidance we often overlook. The woman who met Jesus said those whispers were only the beginning. For after showing her the unseen hands that guide our steps, he turned her attention to something she had taken for granted her entire life. Her words. She told me, it was as if every sentence I had ever spoken was a stone dropped into a still pond, and I was being shown the ripples. Jesus showed her moments where she spoke kindness, and how those words traveled far beyond what she ever imagined. a gentle encouragement to a friend in despair, which later gave him the courage to keep living. A small compliment to a stranger, which restored her faith in humanity after years of disappointment. But then, she saw the other side. Words she spoke in frustration or carelessness, words she had already forgotten, that left wounds in others' hearts. Sarcasm that made someone feel small. A complaint that dampened another's joy. She said Jesus didn't condemn her for these things, but he let her feel the weight of them, not as punishment, but so she could understand their power. My friend, we speak thousands of words each day. Most slip from our mouths without a second thought. Yet, in the spiritual realm, no word disappears. Each one carries life, or it carries harm. It is no wonder the ancient wisdom tells us, life and death are in the power of the tongue. I remember once, when I was young, I walked through a marketplace. A man was struggling to sell his fruit. People passed him by without a glance. I stopped, not because I was hungry, but because I could feel his discouragement. I bought a small bag and said, "Your apples are the sweetest I've tasted in years." His face lit up, not because of the coins I gave him, but because someone had seen him. Years later, I returned to that same town. An older man came to me and said, "You may not remember me, but I remember you. That day you spoke to me in the market, I was thinking of ending my life. Your words were the first kindness I had heard in months. It made me try one more day. And now here I am." My friend, I had no idea. I was just speaking. And yet those words had life in them. This is what the woman realized in the light, that our words are like seeds. Some take root in hours, others lie dormant for years before they grow. But grow they will. And so she decided never again to speak without considering whether her words carried love. Jesus told her, "When you speak, you create. You can build a bridge, or you can build a wall. You can plant a garden, or you can plant thorns. The choice is yours in every moment. And so I say to you, be slow to speak when you are angry. Be quick to speak when you are grateful. If you must correct someone, do it with gentleness. If you must be silent, let it be because silence will cause less harm than careless speech." Here is something you can try this week. Before speaking, pause for just one breath and ask yourself, will these words heal or will they harm? Will they plant love or will they plant bitterness? If they will heal, speak them boldly. If they will harm, let them pass like clouds. For the woman, this shift transformed her relationships. People began to trust her more deeply. Conflicts dissolved faster. And perhaps most importantly, she found peace, because she no longer carried the guilt of words spoken without thought. The woman told me that before she returned to her body, Jesus placed his hand over her mouth and said, "Let your words taste of heaven before they touch the earth." She carried that phrase with her until her final days. My dear friend, your words are the building blocks of the world you live in. Choose them with care, and you will find that the world around you begins to change in ways you never imagined. In 3. Our next conversation, I will share the final vision he gave her before sending her back, a vision of time itself, and how every soul is given only a certain measure, though we often live as if it will never end. What she saw about time will stir your heart to live differently from this day forward. So until then, speak life. Plant gardens with your words. And remember, every sentence you speak is a seed you plant in eternity. In our last conversation, I shared with you how the woman who met Jesus learned about the power of words, how every sentence shapes the unseen world around us. But before he sent her back to the life she thought had ended, he gave her one final vision. A vision of time itself. She told me, "It was like standing before a vast ocean, but instead of water, it was made of moments, each one a drop of light." She saw her life as a series of shining drops falling into her hands, one after another. At first they came quickly, like rain, but then they began to slow, and soon only a few remained. Jesus said to her, "This is your time. Every soul is given a measure. You do not know how much remains, but you know this. When the last drop falls, you will come home." She realized then how much of her life had been spent waiting for the right time to do what mattered most. She thought of the dreams she had delayed, the apologies she had postponed, the love she had promised to give later. And suddenly, later felt like a dangerous word. A thief stealing the only gift we truly have, now. My friend, we humans often treat time as if it were endless. We fill our days with distractions, telling ourselves that one day we will slow down, one day we will change, one day we will start truly living. But the truth is, we do not live in years. We live in moments, and those moments are slipping through our fingers whether we notice or not. The woman told me she saw scenes from her life where she had chosen routine over joy, convenience over courage. They weren't bad choices, but they were empty. And Jesus showed her the difference between a life filled with movement and a life filled with meaning. I once met a fisherman in a coastal village. He rose each day before sunrise, not just to catch fish, but to watch the first light touch the water. He told me, "Most people see a sunrise a few times in their life and think it is special. I see it every day, and it never stops being special. The moment you stop noticing is the moment you stop living." When I think of the woman's vision, I think of that fisherman. Time is not just about how much we have. It's about how deeply we live inside each moment. Jesus told her something I want you to carry in your heart. The measure of your life is not in how long you live, but in how much love you give in the time you have. Some people live 90 years and never truly awaken. Others live 30 years and change the lives of hundreds. The difference is not in the number of their days, but in the purpose of their days. If you wish to live fully, start by asking yourself these questions each morning. If this were my last day, what would I do differently? Who needs to hear from me today? What beauty can I notice before the sun sets? And then act on the answers. Do not wait for someday, because someday is not on the calendar. Only today is real. The woman told me that before she returned to her body, Jesus placed a single drop of light in her hand and said, "This is the moment you are in right now. Live it fully, for you will never hold it again." And then she awoke, gasping for breath, her heart pounding, her eyes filled with tears. From that day, she no longer counted the years she had left. She counted the moments she had loved. My dear friend, in our next and final conversation, I will share how her story changed my own life, and how it can change yours too. We will speak of how to live each day with intention, peace, and a readiness to let go when our final moment comes. Until then, hold the drop of light that is this moment and let it shine. In our last conversation, I told you how the woman who met Jesus saw time, not as endless years, but as drops of light slipping into her hands. That vision changed her, but it also changed me. When I first heard her story, I could not sleep that night. I lay awake, thinking of the drops I had wasted, the days I had filled with worry instead of gratitude, the moments I had let slip away because I was too distracted to see their beauty. I thought of the people I had not called, the forgiveness I had withheld, the kindness I had delayed, and I realized something that perhaps you are realizing now. Life is not about how much time we have left. It's about what we do with the time that remains. The woman's experience was not meant to scare us, but to wake us. Every story she told, the life review, the angels, the power of words, the vision of time, was like a lantern placed in a dark path, showing the way forward. She told me that after returning from death, she began to live as if each day were her last, but not in fear. She lived with joy. She stopped postponing small pleasures. She drank tea slowly, watching the steam rise like prayers. She spoke blessings over strangers. She forgave debts, both the ones measured in money and the ones measured in pain, and she told me something I will never forget. When you live as if you could leave at any moment, you stop clinging, and you start giving. I remember one winter evening when I was walking through the temple gardens. The moon was high, the air crisp. An old friend visited me, burdened with regrets. He spoke for hours about what he wished he had done differently. When he finally stopped, I looked at him and said, "You cannot change the drops that have fallen, but you can decide what to do with the one in your hand." He grew silent. And then, he smiled for the first time that night. That smile was the beginning of his healing. My friend, we all have two choices in life: to let time slip by while we plan to live someday, or to live now, even if now is imperfect, messy, and uncertain. Waiting for the perfect moment is like waiting for the ocean to be still before setting sail. The ocean will never be still, and life will never be perfect. Jesus told the woman something that I now carry in my own heart every single day. When you come home, I will not ask you how much you have done. I will ask you how much you have loved. If you wish to honor the time you have been given, be present. Don't just be in a place, be with it. Love openly. Don't wait for special occasions to show people you care. Forgive quickly. Life is too short to hold on to what hurts. Notice beauty daily, even in small things. The sound of rain, the laughter of a child, the warmth of sunlight on your face. Speak life. Let your words plant gardens, not thorns. The woman has long since left this world for good, but I believe she is still speaking through every person who heard her story and decided to live differently. And now you have heard it too. The question is, what will you do with the drop of light in your hand right now? Will you wait, or will you live? In our final conversation, I will bring together every lesson from her journey, the life review, the angels, the words, the time, into one clear path you can follow starting today. This final chapter will not just be a story, but a guide for living a life that is ready, joyful, and full of peace when your own last moment arrives. Until then, remember, you are holding a drop of light. Let it shine. My dear friend, we have walked a long road together. We have stood beside the woman as she left her body and met Jesus in the light. We have felt the compassion in his eyes as he showed her her life, not with condemnation, but with love. We have seen the angels who walk beside us unseen, guiding our steps when we think we are alone. We have learned the weight of our words, how they can plant gardens or thorns in the hearts of others. We have held the drops of light in our hands, moments of time, and realized they are slipping away. And now, we come to the end of her story. But more importantly, we come to the beginning of yours. When the woman told me her final moments with Jesus, she said he did not give her a list of rules. He gave her an invitation. He said, "Live so fully that when your last drop falls, you have no need to look back. Live so lovingly that when you see me again, you recognize the love in my eyes, because it was the same love you gave away every day of your life." She returned with a heart so alive it was as if she had been given a second birth. And that, my friend, is what I wish for you. Not to wait for death to teach you how to live, but to be reborn now, in this very breath. Years after she passed, away for the final time, I still meet people who say, "She changed my life." And when I ask how, it is never about something grand. It is always something simple. A kind word, a warm meal, a listening ear. She didn't change the whole world at once. She changed the world for one person at a time. And that was enough. We often dream of doing great things, but Jesus showed her that greatness is not measured in size, but in sincerity. A smile given to a lonely soul may shine brighter in heaven than a lifetime of accomplishments done for applause. So, if you take nothing else from her story, take this. Live each day as if it were both your first and your last. Wonder at everything. Love without hesitation. Forgive without keeping score. Speak as if your words will echo forever, because they will. To live fully awake, remember the 4 lanterns she carried back from the light. The life review. Measure your days not by achievements, but by love. The angels. Listen for the whispers and see guidance in the coincidences. The power of words. Speak life, plant gardens, and let your words taste of heaven. The drops of time. Cherish the moment in your hand. It will never come again. Walk with these in your heart, and you will live without regret. My friend, we do not know when our last drop will fall. But we do know this. We still have one in our hands right now. So hold it gently. Fill it with love, and let it spill light into every life you touch. And when the day comes that you step into the light, may you hear the same words she longed to hear. Well done, beloved. You have loved well. Welcome home. If this story has stirred your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Let it awaken someone else's soul. And if you wish to keep walking this path of reflection and wisdom, join me here at Soulful Wisdom. Subscribe to Soulful Wisdom so we can walk together in love and mindfulness. Soulful Wisdom. Turn on notifications so you never miss these moments of light. Leave a comment. Tell me what drop of light you will hold on to today. And remember, you are alive in this moment. That is not an accident. That is a gift. Until we meet again, walk gently, speak kindly, and love deeply. The light is always closer than you think.